Okay. So we're back with types of fouls. So what do you guys think what do you think the signal should look like for each of these? We'll start with hit. Like, what should that foul be? Okay,
Yeah,
and then
like that, but like what's next?
Yeah.
The mechanic for it, I guess.
you gotta do this, and then what? You got it. Good job, guys. Wow. Okay. Hold. Gonna keep going. Great. Wonderful. Hand check. We're gonna go through all of them. Yeah.
Can you do like that?
Yeah. I got you. All right. So we got. Every time you're gonna call a foul, you have to put your fist up. Violation is open palm because that is a rule break. Foul is when you a foul is when you interfere with like the motion or the movement of the person that's going. So you're gonna do this. We blow your whistle, fist, hit. You're gonna hit your arms together, I guess. Make an X. Hold. Pull. You're holding someone. You're pulling someone back. Kind of do what you saw.
Up here. Yeah.
I have too many things. I don't know. Yeah. Hand check. We didn't do that one yet. Okay. Yeah. So we're doing this. This is like awkward with this thing. Push. Woo. Body.
It's more like
It's more like body. Yeah.
Body feels more like a push.
That's what. That's okay. We're skipping body, but anytime there is a body foul, it's kind of just another push. You're interfering with them, so I would do that. Block. Got that. Charge. Woo. And then you got to point in the direction that the ball is now going. After that, illegal screen.
Does everybody know that one?
The hip, right?
You do the block,
Yeah.
and then you point like the opposite way. So you just do like foul, block. Like there's kind of a lot of stuff, but it's like a block and then you point. So.
And we got intentional fouls. Woo. Technical fouls.
This is the favorite one. And I get big with the technical foul.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid. Yeah.
Just,
First out. Break your finger. Yeah, and everyone does it differently. I mean, I've seen this, I've seen two. I mean, like that. Don't be afraid to sell it.
and then flagrant, which is the same as intentional, I thought.
Just something that our group was talking about when we were going through this. An illegal screen is a foul that you charge to a player. So just when an illegal screen happens, that's when you go to the table. It's a foul on the player who did the illegal screen. So don't just give it to the other team and then go, okay, that's a foul charged to the player.
Any questions? Yeah?
There are two of these where we aren't going to shoot free throws if they happen. Does anyone know which two they are?
Illegal screens?
Those are two that no matter what happens, if someone's in the act of shooting, whatever, we cannot shoot free throws over. Okay, if a team is in the bonus, we don't shoot free throws.
Cool. This is what we just went over. You have that paper too. It's just a copy of it. And now this isn't me anymore, so.
Yeah. It's actually a team.
Here you go. Do you want to take those? Because I'm just standing over there, so I want you to be on camera. Okay.
What?
All right. I'll talk.
Yeah.
All right.
Your voice is way more shit.
I've been told that. You can go. I'm ready. I just have to set up everything.
No, we're supposed to record it.
I know it's still recording.
Anybody have something good for lunch?
Thought we said good. All right.
Chicken potatoes.
So me and Legank, we're going to do kind of the same thing with violations, but just with fouls. So we'll go over some of the real definitions, and then we'll go through some videos of what these fouls look like in our intramurals. We have some videos, and then also in some high school stuff. So first one is a hit. So this is one that when in doubt, when you're going up to the table, you can always go with a hit. If it looks like he pushed him, but like you forget the push, or it's a hand check and you forget the hand check mechanic, just go with a hit. Okay. And then if the player straight up and comes down and then hits the shooter, it's a foul. So most of these fouls, they seem like they're self-explanatory. Don't get too caught up with what it is. Say somebody, like I said, does a hand check, but you forget that mechanic. Go up with a hit. Obviously, if it's a block, don't go with the charge. But just make sure that you get the player, the color, the player's number, and then what team. So then you know when you're reporting that. Okay, but don't get too worked up about the exact foul it was.
So what you'll see in this last point, you'll see a lot of players, they'll initially start like this, they'll jump up in the air, and then they'll come down like this, okay, when the person comes up to them to shoot. All right, and then they'll put their hands back up and be like, I was straight up. No, you weren't, okay? Now the difference with that is that I'm straight up, an offensive player comes into me, makes contact, and then it causes me to go down a little bit. That's not my fault. You shouldn't punish someone for that. You punish someone for willingly going down to block someone. Here's an example of that right here.
Group 2, haven't talked to you guys in a while. So what do you have here? Obviously, a foul was called. It was blocked. Yeah. So this one, granted, the blue guy, there's a big swipe. Even though he doesn't come down over the body, he might not even hit his arm really. But anytime there's that excessive, here to here, call that. Okay. So this was a good. I think in my mind, it was a good call. Even though a player did get the shot up, he's excessively coming from up and down. This one's pretty obvious one. Does anyone have any questions? So you can see the white player just goes up for it, and then the guy, hits him in the arm. So, yeah.
So if the defender jumps straight up and the offensive player goes into him, causing his hands to go down, would that be a foul on the offense, or would it just be no call? It's situational. If the defender is waiting there, kind of like he's about to take a charge and he just goes up, then yeah, it could, and the offense player, really does excessive contact. But if it's just a drive and then the player goes like that and not really much, don't call a charge just because there's contact or don't call stuff like that. So
on those, you're going to let that go and just go with a no call.
Yeah.
Because the defensive player didn't do anything wrong. He was holding his ground and he was straight up, and it was the contact that caused him to come down. And the offensive player is just attacking the rim. We didn't really dislodge the player or compare him to a for a charge. We have no call.
yeah.
Get you in a second. We're going to talk about in a few slides about offensive fouls you're going to go to and through a player. So kind of answer your question here. What's going on?
Are we calling swipes?
What do you mean?
Say I'm the defender and I see a ball and I see the ball's right there and I decide to swipe and I miss the ball and the person completely.
Did you miss the ball and the person?
Yeah.
So you didn't make any contact, right?
No. Yeah.
So there's nothing illegal about that, right?
Because the video before this, technically he didn't do anything. It wasn't a foul.
Well, if the video before us, if you slow it down, his arm coming down causes the player, he goes up into it, so then he wasn't any illegal contact. But if you swipe trying to steal the ball and you don't make any contact, there's no foul there. But if you were to make contact with the arm and causes the offensive player to lose the ball, then that's a foul.
And also just a random thing. I don't even know if we have it in there, but say this was Brian Stelzer. He used to be our coordinator before Danny got here. He's at Nebraska now, but he always told me, so say LeGang, come over here. If Glank's dribbling the ball, you'll see players do this all the time. You see him at the rec. So he's dribbling, I'm defending him. He gets past me, and then I try to do one of these to bounce the ball out. 99% of the players will foul him. Players aren't good enough that they can just poke the ball out without touching him. So if you ever see that, most of the time get them with a hand check, okay? Because coming around, that's a pretty advanced defensive move that unless he really just doesn't touch him whatsoever, that's going to be a foul most times, okay?
Something to point out here, we missed a travel right when he gets the ball right here. Now it's slight and it's quick, but it's something that you can travel as many times as you want in your game. You can only foul 5 times. So it's something that we want to grab it if we can, so that way we prevent someone from getting the foul. what you got? Not Charlie, someone else. Crew 4, what you got? Not Charlie.
When he went up for the first time, it looked like he hit his arm instead of the ball. After the second time, it looks like he got a ball.
So that's I actually talked to Danny about this earlier today, because that's what I thought initially. But if you
can try to
look
pause
at
it.
when you're going up to shoot, he comes through his elbow first, and then he gets the ball. All right. So what you want to look at with these types of fouls when they're contesting shots, do they make contact with the ball first? Okay.
Right there.
If they, he came through his elbow there. Now, if he gets the ball first and then he gets some arm, that's legal. That's fine. Okay. But if he comes through the arm first and then he gets the ball, that's illegal. All hit. We're shooting 2 free throws.
Yeah.
So also the baseline's rush ball.
What's up?
Gray area. That's a
That's
pretty.
a gray area because in the paint. We'll go over that tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right. So a hand check is defined as placing 2 hands on a defender. That's an automatic foul. Now there's a difference between extending them out and if someone is coming to me and I just have my hands by my side, then I'm not outside of myself. I shouldn't be penalized for that. But if I put my 2 hands out and place them on an offensive player, that's a penalty. Okay. If I put a hand out, I take it off, and then I put a hand back on, so I touch them twice with the same hand, that's a hand check. And then also, if I put one hand out and I keep it out there on the offensive dribbler, then that's a hand check.
Yeah. That last bullet, we really preach this. Anytime a player, this kind of falls under most fouls. Anytime a player's rhythm, speed, balance, or quickness is inhibited, that's kind of what most fouls fall under. So sometimes when it's close, you have like 2 really, really athletic players, even even like a touch, it might not be a foul, but if somebody, one of those things goes off, that could be how you decide a foul, whether or not, because, just because there's contact doesn't mean there's a foul, but just because there's a little contact doesn't mean it's not a foul kind of thing. So definitely focus on those 4 things if, on, some close calls like that.
Name's Josh. Yeah. Josh, stand up. So Josh is dribbling, we're going to the basket this way. So if he's dribbling like this, and I have my hand by my side, or I have an elbow by my side, this is fine as long as we're side by side. But as soon as I extend out and push him off of it, where he's trying to go, so I disrupt his rhythm, speed, balance, quickness, that's where that becomes a foul. So be careful with that. What you got?
See, it's kind of like almost like a reach. Starts to dribble, but I guess considered a hand check. He extends the elbow a little. It's like a reach and a hand check.
Which player are you talking about?
Right here.
On the floor?
You see how he puts his hand in? And then he uses his elbow.
Yeah. And, sorry, go ahead.
So here, he essentially sticks his entire arm in front of the player in an attempt to block him. Okay? That is disrupting his rhythm. That's not allowing the offensive player to go where he wants to go. Okay? So this is going to be a hand check.
Yeah.
What do you have
And yeah, you said, once it goes 31, on the 31, he's trying to go from the corner. He's trying to get a layup. He's not trying to go across the lane. That's not what players do. So anytime the defender rides him out or he makes him put his balance off or his rhythm of going from here to like going from here, that's when you can call, that's what would be a hand check. So, and hand checks are probably the most common foul that we have in intramurals because just players don't like to play defense with their feet. But it's also the same thing that our officials don't like to call it as much. Okay.
Come back to group 1, please. Michelle got it.
Looks like that first guy is kind of pushing on him, and the second guy runs into him.
Yeah.
Looks like he kind of sells himself out.
Yeah, so the defender here, he's at half court, he's planted, but then the dribbler goes around him. So in an attempt to stop him, he tries to play defense with the hand and pitches his arm out. And makes contact with him and stops the dribbler from going where he was trying to go.
Okay.
So that's where we have a hand.
And you see his speed, like I said, between rhythm, speed, balance, quickness. I mean, right there, I mean, he's going straight and then he gets knocked off of it, so.
You could say blocking lines.
Yeah, it could be, I mean, that, yeah,
A lot of these fouls are interchangeable, and a lot of fouls, like, players will do more than one.
So is a reach in foul basically just either a handshake or a hands?
yeah, reach.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so if you have reaching, you can either have a hand check or a hit. That's essentially what you're gonna do. Group 2.
2, you have foul here.
Was it a Kosh? Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. What you got?
Just gonna see it one more time, but for us.
Yeah, I got to see if I can.
Definitely a foul because he kind of went in on him after catching through here,
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
Try to reach him, put his hands in.
I've been,
Yeah, so he's not playing defense with his feet here.
Yeah.
Okay? He's playing defense with it. He gets beat by a little bit, and so he just sticks his hand out into the player. You had a question? Oh, okay. So body foul, which is kind of interchangeable with the blocking foul, this is when you use your body to displace another player. Okay, so you can use your hip. You can essentially use anything. The biggest one we see is your hip. You stick a knee in them, and your chest and your back.
he's group 3. Group 3.
22.
It kind of looks like the player on the right, I think 21, is like using his hip to like really push into him and
Yeah.
make him move under
Yeah.
the basket.
So a couple things here. One, our referee here just kind of leaned. That's not a good look. Take a few steps, that way you get a good look at it.
Yeah.
2, so number 22 there, he plays good defense. Like he's standing there, he's not really doing anything. But 21 comes through his back right there when he picks up his dribble and forces him out of bounds essentially.
Yeah.
So that's where the foul came from there.
And just one more note to think about is what happens at the end of this play.
Backcourt violation.
Yeah, I mean, backcourt, I mean, white gets a turnover off of a foul on blue. So just, there's things to keep in mind that, you don't ever want to assume, but, you don't ever want to have a team essentially get penalized for something that, is the other team's fault or something that we should have called, okay?
Looks like what's the white jersey guard? I can't see what number it is, but he uses his back like to sort of like shoulder into him on the shot.
Yeah. So this shooter goes airborne, right? And when someone goes airborne, we want to protect them. So what I think it's 4. What white does once the guy goes up is that he kind of turns and tries to back him out a little bit. That throws him off. He finishes pretty easily, but that's where that foul comes from. We good?
Another thing, real quick, Matt, another thing to think about is the player has a right to go up and then come down on the spot. So in that last situation, what you can see is when he goes up, the player, he naturally will come down in front of where he was. Because that player kind of gets in his way, it backs him out of that spot. So something to keep in mind of the player can go up and come down without being interrupted. Where in that situation, he can't come down without being touched because that guy's back's right in. So just something to keep in mind with as well.
So what you can look for here is when someone goes up and down, where were they going to come down and where did they actually come down? If their flight trajectory changes because of contact, then that contact was likely illegal. Okay? Alright, bye guys.
Push up. He's going up the shoes.
Yeah. So he forced him out of bounds. Right there, you're just riding the whole way to the body. You can't believe it, but that's the call. We good?
All right. So we kind of mentioned it before. So a block is going to be on the defense. A charge would be kind of the opposite block charge situations. A block is going to be on the defense, and this is when they're not set and they're trying to take a charge, or they're not in legal guarding position and they try to basically they don't beat the offense player to the spot and they try to block them from getting to the hoop or whatever. So.
Okay, so talk about legal guarding position and what that means. So to be a legal defender, you have to have 2 feet on the floor and you have to be facing whoever you're defending. Okay. Once you've established this, you can move laterally and you can move backwards, but you can't move into whoever you're defending. Okay. So with that, if you've established and you have 2 feet on the ground, you are entitled from the floor to the ceiling. That's your space. Okay. So you can go straight up. You can jump straight up like this as long as you don't move from that space.
Also group 1.
Was he illegal?
Nah, he was clean.
This one's a little tougher to see because you're kind of looking through players at the end there.
See if I can pause it at the right time. Oops, sorry. Go back. I lost it. All right. We can go back. It's all right. We'll just watch the next one. I mean, yeah, that one's a hard one. I mean, from that one, it looks like he was in legal guarding position, but once the white player got around him, he kind of sticks his hip out. That's also going to be a block too. Okay, even though his feet are set, when they're getting out of their body frame, using their hips, especially the defenders, that's also blocks. Are going to be blocks. Group 2, what do you got? You think this is a good call? Yes, you think so?
I think if you watch him when he goes up, it looks like he's going through his hands.
I mean, at least to me, honestly, if anything, I'd probably call it a hit rather than a block. But I mean, we don't have a great angle, but yeah, I mean, from what it looks like, it doesn't really look too much like a block in my mind. But yeah, like, do you think it's a block? I mean, I think that when he comes down like that, I think that's where the foul happens. But
Yeah. So our man Zyrus here.
Zyrus.
yeah,
Yeah, he always used to give this preliminary. So he comes out with a hold here, and yeah, it's probably what you have here because he puts his entire arm in front of him, preventing him from going up for that shot, and that's where that foul came from. But as far as with his body, he was actually pretty legal.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it's right there. He called it earlier.
yeah.
Okay. So, John, to answer your question earlier. So, an offensive foul is when we have an offensive player going to a defender's legal right position, and going through them. Andy's rule with this is if you have 2 players collide, it's a bang-bang play, and you have guys laying on top of each other, it's probably a charge to keep doing that. Because if someone is legal, then they're probably set. They're probably legally in front of someone. So then they're likely laying on top of each other. Now, if they're late, if they get there late, then they're going to fall apart. So if you see that contact and they fall apart, then it's a block. Usually. There's some situations where it's not going to work out like that. Like if the defender slides under an airborne shoe.
And I mean, for those of you who watch basketball and now that you officiate, this is probably the single hardest call to make, a block versus a charge, just because there's so many variables and it's obviously, you know, a half-second thing. So when you watch these videos, just make sure you keep mental notes of just certain things that defenders might do, certain things that offenders might do that, like Leanne said, if they land like that, probably a charge. If they land like that, probably a block, okay? And you have to make that decision, you know, within a few seconds, okay?
So other ways I can do this, you can lower your shoulder and knock somebody over, knock somebody to the ground. You'll see this a lot with post players. They'll get it and they'll try to power their way to the rim and lower their shoulder. All right. Now if you displace that defender, knock them backwards, knock them over, then that's a charge. Same thing with ball handlers. When they're dribbling, trying to create separation for a shot, oftentimes they'll stick out their free arm and push their defender up. Now if you see that separation created by that, that's also an offensive foul.
Obviously here nothing was called.
Yeah.
Should something have been called? And if so, where?
There's at least two things that they missed. First, that offensive player, when he passed it out to the corner, he kind of shoved him off him with his elbow. And after the shot, the defender, the same defender, pushes him back with his butt. And
we're not worried about the rebound on this one yet. I get the observation, but yeah. So the emphasis is on that first one, and it's slight, and the only one with a good angle on it is Andy back here. But you see him push off, it creates enough separation for him to get that pass off to get where he's going. Okay. If you see that, call it. This is one that we miss a lot that we need to get more of. Because guys come out here, they play, pick up all the wreck, and they can do that all day long, call it. But out here we need to get that.
Group 4, are we up to? Group 4? That's group 4? Yeah, I mean, I think that was a, I think that was a good charge call. Yeah, I mean, he was set, he was waiting for him, so just know that if, the black player slid over a little bit at the last second, that's a block, but, he looks like he was pretty stationary. And also in terms of, just like in that area, in terms of Leo guarding position, if for some reason one person, even if he's waiting there, if he has 1 foot like on the out of bounds line and he has 1 inbounds, is that legal guarding position? No, it's not. So just, you have to be inbounds as legal guarding position. So if somebody has touching the line or something, they can't take a charge.
Do we have a restricted area?
We do not have a restricted area. So if somebody yells at you, college and NBA does, so if somebody yells at you saying they're waiting under the basket and you call a block or something, or you call a charge, then there's no restricted area, so they can do that.
So as an example, you can see on the rebound, white 30 here is going to lower his shoulder, and that essentially pushes his defender over. This one's a little longer, so watch it one more time. Any other questions?
All right, legal screen. So legal screen we mentioned, there's 3 criteria for a legal screen. Does anybody know? I believe there's 3, yeah. Does anybody know all 3? So obviously most of you the first one is that you have to be, set. You can't be moving while you're doing a screen, but there's also 2 more.
You can't stick your elbows out.
Yeah, so you can't be outside of your body frame. You can't, hips, arms, anything like that. And then there's 1 more. Does anybody know it?
You can't crouch your knees either.
Yeah, just in sort of body position. But the third one is you have to give the defender time and distance to react. So if I'm, like really, really close to somebody, I'll probably have a video on it, but you have to just make sure that you have to give the opponent, like I say, time and distance to see a screen. So, in terms of like if I'm right on top of the person and they don't know that I'm there, that could be considered an illegal screen, even if I'm set, you know, and I'm within my body frame. You got to give them time to be able to react to it.
So this one's all based on visual field. So if I'm setting a screen next to someone, then they can see me in their periphery, and that's fine, okay? But if I'm trying to set a screen behind him, I have to give him at least a step to turn and see me, okay? So if I come up right behind Josh here and set a screen behind him, that's an illegal screen. Right around here. So you can see 3 here. He tries to get set, and then he just sticks his butt out, and then also rides the guy once he makes contact a little bit farther out. This is a call that we miss often because we're ball watching, and so if you'll find out tomorrow what your primaries are, but if it's not in your primary, you need to make sure you're watching for off-ball stuff like this. This one's a little more slight, but if you watch the guy in the orange shorts down here, when the ball's kicked out here, his defender, he just kind of rides him towards the baseline to prevent him from getting out there to make a play on the shot. This is the same kind of play we had 2 slides earlier, where the guy just kind of sticks his butt out. Again, you're not within your body frame, so you're creating advantage by going outside your body frame to knock the defender off their course. As you can see, we missed it because there wasn't a whole lot of contact, but that is something that we need to grab.
Alright, and there's one more type of illegal screen. It's kind of hard to explain, but a lot of, like, I'll use Legank an example. So like on pick, does everyone know what a pick and roll is? So like the big man comes in, they set a pick, and then they roll to the basket. Say Legank's defending, you know, an imaginary person, I guess. And the basket's over there, and I come and set a pick, and he goes towards the basket, but then I continue to like ride him out like that. That's another example of what an illegal screen would be. So they set a pick, a legal pick, but then I turn around and I keep on picking him, you know, as his way. That's another example of a common one that we see that we don't really call a lot. You know, the other types of fouls that we didn't go over, a hold, kind of the same thing as some of the stuff like a hand check, but you're holding them. A push, displacing a player with your arms, pushing them. And as Danny mentioned, there's no over the back, but it would be a push if they make contact and they, you know, go for a rebound and do go over the back. So. All right, so watch white 21 right there. You see that? It's really fast. Happens like it's really not a lot of contact, but you know, I mean, she just takes her arms, extends it to get her out of the paint, and that's just that's a off the ball foul that hopefully the official down there, the lead, would have got, but I don't think it was called. A little GoPro cam here.
So a lot of these ones will happen early when they get down and they're trying to establish position. Just like the last one, this one also kind of happens early when they have the ball. You can see 14 and 4 kind of go down and they both push each other. All right, grab the first one. Don't wait until the retaliation, because the retaliation is often worse, and it could cause the game to escalate.
All right.
Intentional foul. The way this is best described is you're not going for the ball, you're trying to stop the player from doing something. So if someone has a clear path to the basket, no one's in front of them, and you come up behind them, you wrap them, you grab their shoulders, you grabbed their arm from behind and pulled onto it, that's an intentional foul. Okay. But what we can mix this up with is when at the end of the game, the clock is running, the team is down by a little bit, and they're trying to foul to stop the clock and get the other team shooting so they can get the ball back and try to count it. Okay, there's a clear difference there. So when we have intentional foul, you're going to give the team that was intentionally fouled, you're going to give them 2 shots, and the ball's going back wherever the play is.
And then, yeah, technical foul, the administration's the same for us. So technical foul, 2 shots, and give the ball to the team that, the offended team. But the technical is more conduct related, so anything towards official, taunting, dunking we mentioned, that's a technical foul. Yeah.
The difference is, though, with the technical foul, you're going to put the ball at half court instead of where the play was stopped.
All right, so I think we're wrapping up our last section here. So continuing on with fouls. So a shooting foul. So anytime a player is fouled in the act of shooting, they're going to get their 2 free throws like any, like normal basketball. And then they only get 1 shot for an and one. Does everybody know that concept of an and one? Okay.
You call that? Like you're calling the foul straight up, and then you're going and.
Yeah, that's a mechanic. Yeah.
Points and you got both points.
Yeah, so it's a mechanic too. So you go up with a foul, and then you count the basket. So you don't just go foul and then just like keep on going. Okay, and just something, a little thing when you do call a foul, let your other officials know what's happening. So say we have like a hand check. You call a foul, but you can also point to where we're going to be inbounding the ball. So then everybody else can rotate, and then we'll go over this tomorrow when we do rotations, but let everybody know what's happening. So then we're not all waiting on you to report it and then tell us what we do next. So like if we have a shooting foul, say, I usually go up with a foul and I say 2 shots. So then I'm going to the table, I'm about to report it. Everybody else is lining up. So then once I report it, I turn around and then we're ready to go. Okay, just something to get in the hang of. Bonus situations, we do 7 and 10. Players can do 1 and 1s. Everybody know what a 1 and 1 is? So if they make it, they get 1 more shot. If they miss it, ball's live. At 10 fouls, just 2 free throws.
These are team fouls. 7 team fouls, 10 team fouls.
We foul out at 5. I know MDA is 6, but everything else is 5. So player and team control.
They don't reset after a quarter, do they?
It resets. The team fouls will reset after halves. So after the first half, but they don't, like we said, in overtime they'll carry over. And then player fouls obviously are this whole game. Player and team control, so like charges or like illegal screens, we're not shooting free throws on those because they're just player control fouls as we call them. There, we got that? Good. All right.
So when you're calling fouls, this is where it's important to be watching the players and not the ball. Like you want to see the whole thing play out from the beginning to the end, and this is where your mechanics come into play. So you're going to see the foul go up, blow your whistle. Like we're going to go over like whistle blowing tomorrow, but you got to get like with power. Like if you do like a weak whistle, no one's going to stop. But you got to go like with power, closed fist, going to count it. What's the thing for counting the?
What? Yeah, it's just you do it however. I go like this, but some people go like that. So as long as you make sure that you have a mechanic for it.
Move towards the players if it's appropriate, and only point out the player if multiple players are involved to indicate who fouled. Otherwise, there's no point in point.
Yeah, all you do when you're first calling the foul is you blow your whistle and you get your hand up. You don't need to like explain yourself. That's not the time to explain yourself. You can go report it and then they could, I guess follow you, or they can ask you after. But you don't, just because you call a foul doesn't mean they say, what, how did I foul? Go to the table, report the foul because you'll forget the name and the number, or the number and the color by that time, and then you could explain what happened. Okay, but the first thing is you blow your whistle, simultaneous, go up with it. Okay, and same thing for violations. Blow your whistle, simultaneous.
While whoever called the foul is doing that, the other 2 officials, you're always supporting the person that made the call. You're making sure that none of the other players, the foul isn't called and are out of line. Like the play needs to stop. You need to make sure that the person that made the call is like reporting the foul appropriately, and everything else, the game is stopped. Like as a ref, you control the game. You don't let players control the game.
Yeah.
While the other 2 refs are frozen while someone's reporting it, the person reporting it needs to report to the foul table. We're going to go over that later. Yeah, you're just assisting whoever made the call. Non-shooting fouls, you're just going to stop the play and kick it out from out of bounds.
And that's it. Calling field should point to the spot. So we have a hand shot, call a foul, point to the spot. Everybody else should be rotating. Then I go to the table, I report it, and then we pass the ball in. Then we go. Okay, that ideally would happen. Just in terms of rotations, we'll go over that, I think, tomorrow. Okay. All right, so reporting the foul. So every single time you have a foul, you have to report it. So even if there's a charge, illegal screens, hand checks, hits, they all have to be reported and to be counted towards a person. So this is the order every single time you should go in. You should go in this order every time. That's it, okay? So if it was a shooting foul in the and one, that's the first thing you tell the table. We don't have a table, we have the score boxes. If you guys ever gone into the Mac Gym, you know that there's the 2 box and there's like a mini area where we have the scorekeeper. That's who you're going to be reporting the foul. So that's who's going to have the score sheet, okay? So the first thing you say is that you'll be like, count the basket, you know, if it went in, so that, and if nothing happened, if it's a regular shooting foul, you don't need to say anything. So you say count the basket, white or blue, those are our colors, white, 35, number, any number, so white, 35, whatever foul it is, hit, hand check, block, charge, and then report what happens next. So you would say 2 shots, baseline out of bounds, sideline out of bounds, you know, just what happens next, okay? And make sure that when you say the foul part, you do the mechanics, so hand check or block, hit, whatever, and then make sure you're allowed to when you're saying this, because they're in, you know, a big thing of glass. There could be a lot of teams and people yelling a lot, so make sure when you're reporting the foul, it's not a secret, so you can be as loud as you want when you're saying it, okay?
When you call the foul, make sure to like give yourself like a second to breathe and like see who you made the call on. Like if it's white 22, just stop for a second, recognize it's white 22. So when you go to like report the foul, you know what you're saying. You're not like looking over your shoulder to make sure that you know who you're talking about. You want to go up to the table just like as confident as you made the call. You're going to say white 22, block, and then 2 shots, whatever you made the call on.
Mm-hmm.
Confidence always.
Yeah, and then the 2 notes at the bottom, never turn your backs on the player. This kind of goes foul reporting, doing anything. We always kind of have one official watching the players, both teams, because you don't want to ever have all, if we like are huddling at the end of the game, we don't all 3 want to be huddling and then all the players over there, because then that's where the fights happen, that's where talking happens. And then also moving around the perimeter of the players, not through them, just kind of a preventative you know, thing. If you have a foul, I don't want to go from the baseline to the table like that. I want to go like that, because that's also avoids any sort of talking to the official, anything like that, okay? So, sportsmanship, this is a major thing that rides on you. We have a lot of things that the supervisor will help you with, but the main thing that the supervisors need from you at the end of every game is sportsmanship, okay? It's rated 1 to 5. If you officiated for us before, you probably know the scales that we do it, okay? And it should be done after every single game.
You rate sportsmanship after every single game 1 to 5, like we went over before, but I think a really important aspect of the game is the meeting you have before the game. When you call the 2 captains together and you say, these are the rules, these are the fouls we're seeing a lot, these are our expectations, like you lay it all out there at the beginning so they can't come at you later in the game and say they didn't know that. Because sportsmanship, when it gets to the championship levels and all the important games, if they have low sportsmanship, they might not be able to play, and they're going to be mad if they didn't know the rules, which the rules should be reiterated every single game.
I'm not going to read this entire thing, but this is 5. They didn't even say a word to you. They said good call every time. 4 is they argued some, but they were fine. 3, they argued several calls, might have had to give somebody a technical, but nothing too crazy. 2, usually had to give multiple technicals, and they argued a lot of calls. And then 1 is that we have ejections, we have technicals, we have fights, we have everything going down. So usually between 2 and 4, if you do give a 2, you need documentation with the supervisor. So.
And if it's a 1, you had to like have given a red card.
Yeah.
One thing to keep in mind too, if you have to do a report for one of those 2 things, we need you to be as descriptive as possible, because usually that comes with an ejection of some sort. And if they get ejected, then they come meet with us. So when they come meet with us, we need to basically say, this is what happened. What is your side of the story? So we need your story, and then we're going to get their story when they come to meet with us. So You just need to be as objective as possible. When they said, hey ref, you're a terrible referee. They've used the F word in the middle. You're an effing terrible referee. Whatever they say, put that entire thing in there. So they can say, oh yeah, no, I didn't say anything to ref. We can say, well, we have written here that you told them that they were an effing terrible referee. So keeping that in mind of just write down what happened, give us as much detail as possible. So when we have that conversation, we're able to be as descriptive as possible with them what we have. So.
All right, so handling conflict. First part is know what player's upset about. This is, it's game-to-game situational. Sometimes you have, those hotheads, problem players that might be giving you problems. Make sure that you focus on them and, talk to them if you need to. I think we'll go over to the next slide. But the main thing is that if they're mad about a call and don't talk about you, then let it go. Because, when I play sports, I say that's horrible, or, that's a terrible call, like every single time somebody makes a call pretty much. But that, you leave it alone because they're not really saying anything. They're mad at the call, or they could be mad at themselves or something that happened. But if they attack you or use profane language anyway, this is usually an automatic technical, at least for me. If they say, you are horrible, you gotta think about your styles. If there's any sort of profane language, usually automatic technical. Are you effing kidding me? Technical. Ball don't lie, any sort of taunting, technical. Okay? And if they attack you as an official, like you're a terrible official, you this, you that, that's when you can throw technicals, because you don't get paid enough to be yelled at by our players in that manner. Okay? That's what, NBA people, they deal with this. And then that last one is like taunting. So, yeah.
In my experience, it's better to just shut down taunting like the first or second time it happens. Because if you just let like some leeway, then there's going to take it to another level, and it's just easier to just like stop like the little thing right off the bat and just say like that's not okay, like we don't expect that here, and then it probably won't happen again.
Yeah. So we have kind of these 5 steps. You don't go through every 5 steps in sort of handling conflict, but I'll talk and you guys can read kind of what we mean by all 5 of these things. So the quiet word is just a one-on-one conversation where you and the player are the only ones talking. So say somebody goes up for a layup and he blows it, and he just like under his breath, he curses at himself. He's mad at himself. He's not mad at anybody else. He missed a layup. Just be like, I heard that, move on, or something like that. Like I heard that, next play kind of thing, okay? Just a quiet word to say, I'm acknowledging what happened, that, you did something that you weren't supposed to, but we're gonna move on. So it's not anything that, you don't wanna do a quiet word if you like punts the ball. Like that's not, you gotta make sure that you're doing the right thing, okay? Moving down, so this goes starting from the top and goes down. So public warning is when, say we have that same guy, he's been talking to me, he's been yelling at Maddie all game, he's been yelling at Ryan all game, and we all just have, he's just a guy that he just wants to complain all the time. So public warning means that it has to be public, it has to be loud. So like, it's not just like, hey, that's enough, like cut it out. That's not a public warning. We wanna, that's enough. Everybody can hear it. Everybody knows that we're talking about him and he needs to stop whatever he's doing, okay?
This can go for the fan box too. Like if the fans are yelling at you or other players and like screaming their heads off, like you can literally stop the game and like yell at the box, and then if the fans for a certain team don't stop screaming at you, they can get a foul on like the whole team.
Yeah. All right, moving on, captain's meeting. Obviously we have one at the beginning of the game, but if things get really bad that we need to stop the game, preferably we want to do it early and not when there's like a minute left in the second half, okay? That's when we don't want to have these captain's meetings. We want to make sure that it's with 10 minutes left in the first half and we've been having a really physical game already. We want to kind of cut it out there. You just get the captains together and be like, this is a really physical game. Tell your team to stop doing this, or tell your team to talk to you. Blue talk to blue, white talk to white kind of thing, okay? Technical foul, we've gone through it. If you need to do it, if somebody does something and they're mad at themselves, mad at a call, don't tee them up, because, that, turns into could get ejected if they get another technical and they have to meet. So just make sure that, it's part of your toolbox, but, and use it, just make sure that you're not just throwing it out there. And then ejection, last resort, but if somebody does something bad enough, you can go straight from an ejection, but generally somebody doesn't do something that bad that they need to be ejected right away, but it does happen. So just be aware of it, that you can eject somebody right away if needed. Don't make threats, one more word and you're gone, because then they just keep on talking, or they just say one more word, and then that's when you have to throw them out. So make sure you draw the line in concrete, not sand, as we say. All right, so here's an example of technical foul. No. So you see blue misses a layup. We have an official right there. He's still clapping. It looks like it's like a half quiet word, half public warning kind of thing, but I think that's definitely, I mean, he's going at him and he's clapping, okay? It's obvious that he's taunting. All right, so we had a foul call. Any sort of like batting the ball, throwing the ball, you know, in any other sport, you can't mess with the equipment, so to say, you know, of the court. So any type of throwing the ball, punting the ball, any stuff like that, it's automatic technical.
Another one with that regard too, you'll see them slam the ball down.
Yeah.
So they slam the ball down, they catch it. That's we'll let them get away with it. But they slam it down, and that thing shoots up past their hands. Technical, automatic.
It goes along with like sportsmanship.
So you can see by the scoreboard, this is a relatively early in the game that we probably should have given a technical foul. I think it might be 4 minutes in that it's 16 minutes, but I mean, I obviously I don't remember this game, I don't know this game, but I'm sure that White might have been pushing the blue player down there, and then 40 comes back the next time, he pushes him like that. That's what it turns into when we have to start giving technical fouls, when we say get the stuff early and often, get the pushes, get the hand checks early and often, because that's when it escalates to this and when fights happen, okay? So we have a coach technical all the way down there. You won't see too often with coaches, but you can give technical foul. Like if a bench is really bad or somebody on the bench has been yelling at you all game, I mean, you can stop the game, tell the captain that you either need to remove that player or, you know, figure out like something bench. Ultimately, the captains are responsible for their benches. So especially if you have problem with benches with teams themselves, go to the captain first. That's why we have the captain's meeting, because they're the leaders of their team. They're the ones that should know the rules out of everybody. And if we do have to, you know, give the bench a technical, it goes to the captain. That's who we charge the technical foul to, okay?
Yeah, in this situation, Andy talks about, so the coach says to Andy, you're the reason why my big men have 2 fouls each or 3 fouls each, whatever it is. So he's pointing at him, he's saying you, that's an easy technical right there.
Yeah.
So.
All right, I think we keep on going.
All right, so before we depart for the evening, again, training will start back tomorrow at 6:30.